So let's start out exactly with this. Florabelle, I think, is one of the best balanced heroes in the game. Is she completely overpowered? No. Is she completely underwhelming? Also no. Is she usable on whale accounts? Yes. Is she usable as an early game free to play? Absolutely. And today we're going to break down pretty much a comparison of her and Cecia because they fit very much a very similar role. And beyond that, we're going to talk about how she performs in most game modes. I have her at Mythic, I have her Supreme Plus on our main account. I have her at Legendary on a brand new free to play. And guess what? She's doing really good on both. Now, I do want to say one thing. If you've already heavily invested into a Cecia, you probably don't need this hero right away until potentially down the road. I would save your diamonds for now until she hits like the regular banner. Going for the rate up, I feel like, is not necessary. So all the disclaimers out of the way. If you guys just came for a short, sweet answer, there it is. If you guys want more details and some gameplay, make sure you guys stick around. Hit that subscribe button. Let's talk about Florabelle. So let's start out with pretty much what most people want to know. How she is in the early game, how she is as a free-to-play like account. She's really solid. Again, she fits a very similar role to Cecia. However, she has some very distinct advantages compared to her. One thing is she is a warrior compared to Cecia being a marksman. It naturally makes her stronger, and it's really weird because even though she is a warrior, when you do take a look at her in combat, you'll notice she actually doesn't move. So I can even put her all the way in the back here. She doesn't move, not at all. The other biggest bonus I'll say in the early game compared to Cecia is the fact that she can get 2 of her summons out without even needing an ultimate. So the strategy of buying time until you can get an ultimate on Cecia isn't really as necessary anymore. Even here, you can see how we're winning, and she only just got her ultimate off because she has Vala's Mark. These little sprites are actually extremely tanky. They do a lot of damage, and again, they make it so that you don't even need to go necessarily with something like a Rowan strategy. And you can see here, I've been stuck on this stage with Cecia, and then I put her in a Legendary, and we're actually having a chance of winning. Now, granted, we could still lose this at the end here, but that's neither here nor there. I'll replay this one again to show you guys a little bit better. One of the strategies I've actually started using so that we get a better faction bonus, getting the 3+2 instead of just the 3, is running a Damien instead of Rowan. And that, again, is mainly due to the fact that, well, we just don't necessarily need the Rowan energy feed. Yes, it is nice to have it early on, but compared to the Cecia strategy, it's not as needed because we can kind of survive with what it is. Damien later on will become a better strategy overall. You can see, of course, Rowan is still a really good strategy because he gives a ton of survivability to your team with those potions. But you even get some additional damage when you're running someone like Damien because that chariot's going to be able to survive longer with all these targets up. And yeah, you can see here, it almost works better than with Rowan. So yeah, you can go away from needing a Rowan as long as you still have that Mauler Wilder setup. Kind of works pretty good. It also means team flexibility is a lot greater. If you're not a fan of Entendre, Brutus, something like that, you could probably even get away on this account with running someone like Granny, just because, well, she's not the most popular tank, but she is actually pretty solid. Where is she? She's up here, right here. She could potentially be useful here, but again, using an S-level tank can be difficult. If you are going to go the Thorin route, I mean, it's just a lot more flexibility, I feel like, of this team. This is the team I've been running even more so than Rowan, and it's actually paying off really well. Still having those 3 Wilders, it's hard to get away from them, but it's funny that the Rowan is actually a hero that we can get away from, and you can run a different hero like Damien, and the advantage of Damien is his chariot is potentially going to be more useful later on, and beyond that, he can stun the back row enemy, which is a good survivability tool as well. Beyond that, once we finally get her to Mythic Plus, which we should be able to do in a couple weeks, since once the banner's still up, we should be able to get there, I'd imagine. We'll see. But the fact that she'll be able to shield his chariot and keep it alive longer, which means he'll be able to do more healing with the chariot, and then beyond that, he'll be able to do big AoE damage. I really like the synergy combo, and it's really good. One thing I did try is running like Cecia in tandem with her. It's okay, but again, Cecia still suffers from that same downfall of without her ultimate, without getting Mr. Carlisle on the battlefield, she just feels so much worse than this hero because she brings the little spear wielder right at the beginning of battle, the archer just a little bit later, and then when she does get the ultimate, she gets the big mace wielding one. And again, they are very, very tanky. Very tanky. Another advantage I just thought of as well when you're comparing these two strategies is in combat, a lot of times what I'll now do is I'll have my Entendre and I'll have her basically spaced out like this so that they're each taking 2 to 3 targets. I usually try to put her with 2 and Entendre with 3 because that is meaning that she is going to get her ultimate much faster. When you are taking damage, you gain energy. So you can watch right here how much faster she gains energy than the Coco. And this is something that's important because her energy rate is almost identical to Cecia's. But because she is a warrior, she is tankier. She has all 3 of these sprites up immediately. She can share the workload and she gets to this big ultimate right there so much faster. Cecia couldn't do this, so it does mean the flexibility in combat is much more advanced, and the damage output this hero has is just absolutely insane as well. Now, talking about game modes, she's going to be pretty standard in most of them. She'll be pretty decent arena, pretty decent honor duel. She's going to be on an early game account, one of your most powerful heroes if you do go this route, so you're kind of stuck using her on a lot of these bosses. One boss I think she's gonna really do well with is the Snow Stomper, because she's gonna have 3 of those extra minions to help break enemies or allies out of the snow. I think that's going to be a huge advantage of her. And the one downside of Cecia on that boss is it feels like Mr. Carlisle just has a really tough time surviving. So we'll have to see how this goes. But yeah, I think it'll be a pretty good strategy. Even on Necro Draken, she's not horrible. I'll show you guys one little attempt that we have right here. I don't know if it's going to go well or not, but she does survive pretty well. Her summons survive pretty well, that you'll notice too, because you can just keep an eye on any of the health bars that don't have energy under them. That's how you know they're hers. And even though she's not getting the ultimate off immediately, she's still getting a good amount of actives off. And on top of that, Smokey's keeping all the summons alive pretty easily. So you can see all 3 of them are up and going. And eventually that's going to give her more attack when you have all 3 of them on the battlefield. So again, she's not moving. She is taking damage, but Smokey's doing his job and keeping lots alive. And again, when she is the strongest, even some of the sprites are staying alive for longer periods of time, which is cool to see. We hit that 30% mark. I think we've already hit that anyway. But I want to show you guys, even in a situation where she's not exactly optimal on an early game account, she's actually doing pretty solid. So now shifting our focus over to a more late game pay to win kind of account that we have, our main account here. We do have her all the way up to Supreme Plus. We have her exclusive all the way up to level 10. So that does mean we have things like her protective blessing. Now, I do think a lot of whales are discounting this hero too much, because let's be honest, there's 2 places this hero is going to be insanely good at. One of them is going to be AFK stages. Guess what? All whales are already done with the AFK stages. So that kind of invalidates if they're useful. Most whales only contest her in PvP, which I think is a big negative, because 2 places she's going to be really good: AFK progress and story mode progress. I left some of these battles up today so I can show you guys exactly what this looks like. I don't want to do that map right now. Let's go over to the other one real quick first. But yeah, similar strategies here. We're still going to be running our team very similarly to how we would. However, we can put her further up in the formation and take some aggro away from our Thorin, which is going to help his survivability, and it's going to help her get additional energy. Now, in this team, we're running essentially the same exact setup, except without Cecia and with her. And honestly, it feels really good, because there's so many more allies on the battlefield to take the heat off of Thorin and your support heroes, and she just really does an amazing job. Big AoE damage, which also works as a stun / knockdown, and it's just really awesome. I've been loving her as far as the story mode goes and everything. She's been doing absolutely good. Of course, she's gonna have top damage here because she's the only one in the lineup. But we could show you guys something a little different too. We could go something very heavily leaning on the side of summon. So what we could do is put her up here where she's only facing 1 target, putting you down here, maybe putting you over here, and then we'll put Cecia up here maybe. Let's see if that works out. Because Cecia, you can see, I mean, this could be a pretty good strategy overall, but let's compare both of them. One of the big things that I feel like she is much better at is relocating her summons based on where the enemy is. I don't know about you, but how many times have you had Mr. Carlisle in such an awkward position that he's just standing there and he's not even battling? He's not in combat. Like right now, he's just standing there. Meanwhile, you have this new hero, Florabelle, who can then resummon her ultimate and put her in a different location. Look, now she's over here, and she can fight in this quadrant over here, or this third over here. Whereas before, Mr. Carlisle's just standing there, and he's not doing anything. So she has a huge advantage when it comes to the actual mobility of her summons, and honestly, the survivability of her summons are insanely better than Mr. Carlisle. Now again, in Dream Realm, she's not going to be doing anything for whales necessarily, except like I said, she might have some usage against Snow Stomper just because of that ability where he knocks enemy down, he freezes them, all that fun stuff. She might be good there. In most boss battles, I don't think she's going to be anything amazing. I do think she's going to be very, very good in Legend Trial. And honestly, she has some really cool strategies, I feel like, in PvP. I can't show it to you guys because we did a bunch of them in our video last night. If you want to see her in some more later game PvP scenarios, go over to the video where it's best news possible. The rate up banner does carry over pity. And we broke down the hero. We did some gameplay, all that fun stuff. It's right there. However, there's some really cool interactions with a PvP team. If you want to run something like a Thorin team and you're running her, she can be insanely good paired up with Rainier. Now, why is that? Well, when Rainier swaps the hero to the other side, she immediately summons this little sprite right here. And I can probably show you guys in a world battle somewhere. So let's go take a look at a battle real quick. If there is one. Oh, there actually isn't right now. But essentially what is going to happen is this little spear wielder is going to immediately spawn, and when they do the swap, this spear holder is going to start hitting that Rainier target that is swapped, and that's really good because that target takes more damage and it will heal Florabelle for the damage that that target receives. Really, really cool. The other strategies that are really good in PvP as well, she synergizes well at Mythic Plus with Damien. Damien's going to be really awesome combination here because of his chariot. It's going to be really solid. The other hero that has a really awesome synergy, which you should not go for, which we might on our free-to-play, we'll see, is Belial, because, well, he actually has some summons as well, which you really wouldn't know because nobody ever uses this hero, but he is very, very good. So just keep him in mind. He is one that is going to be pretty interesting to test out on. I just don't know if he's going to be worthwhile as a single copy. But as far as the endgame PvP meta goes, let's be honest, it's still Aaron. It's still Carolina. It's getting that combo off as soon as possible. Literally, endgame PvP is like 5 seconds long a lot of times. If you're not running that team, you're probably losing. But this might give some sort of strategy to it. So is this hero necessary to build? My final thoughts on this hero is if you already have a Cecia maxed out and you don't have the resources to go in on her, I would just wait for her to fall in all recruitment and then definitely chase copies of her in all recruitment. I would not go for it on the rate up banner just yet because Cecia and her pretty much fill the same role. However, there are some more advanced strategies when both of them are Mythic Plus to really make them strong. If you are a late game whale, again, you don't really need this hero necessarily, so maybe save some of your diamonds. But I will say I feel like this hero is extremely well balanced. They did a really good job with the first global launch hero that is not extremely overpowered or extremely underpowered. She's good free to play. She's good early game, mid game she's solid, end game she's good. She's really, really good at certain game modes. Probably not the best against bosses necessarily. And PvP, she's actually pretty decent as well because she's pretty tanky. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys enjoyed this one, if you thought this was helpful, share this video with a friend, hit the thumbs up button on this, and then leave a comment and let me know what you think about this hero or what we had to say about this hero. I try to give you guys a little bit of gameplay, some early game, late game. I think I covered most things here. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time.